Coming up on this Tuesday edition of Daybreak, Parliament is back in business with the opposition Democratic parties return from street protests. No break in the political impasse is on the horizon, however, as the DP plans to continue its outdoor campaign. Amid signs of a strain in inter-Korean relations, a US think tank says North Korea may have tested a long-range rocket engine late last month at its launching station along the west coast. Plus, 3 terrorists who raided a mall in Nairobi have been killed by Kenyan security forces as the siege nears an end. The official death toll has been revised down to 62. Daybreak begins now.
You're watching Daybreak on Tuesday, September 24th, and I'm Choi Yusan in Seoul. After nearly 2 months of street protest and parliamentary boycott, the main opposition Democratic Party returned to the National Assembly on Monday. The ruling Saenuri Party welcomed the move but expressed concerns about the opposition's decision to continue its outdoor campaign. Kim Hyun-ji tells us more.
The main opposition Democratic Party rolled out a new action plan on Monday that includes running a 24-hour headquarters within Parliament to focus exclusively on parliamentary business. For the past 2 months, the opposition party has carried out an outdoor campaign in Seoul in protest against allegations that the spy agency meddled in last year's presidential election. The street protest has divided the Democratic Party's attention and resources, but the party now says it will launch a separate all-out campaign against the Park Geun-hye administration at the National Assembly. At a meeting of its lawmakers Monday, Democratic Party leader Kim Han-gil asked the 126 lawmakers to bring sleeping bags to the National Assembly and immerse themselves in legislative activities, while Kim himself said he would expand the outdoor protests nationwide. The government's attempts to scale back President Park's basic pension plan will be at the top of their agenda, among others. Meanwhile, the ruling Saenuri Party convened a meeting of its lawmakers Monday afternoon and said it welcomes the opposition party's decision to resume parliamentary business. Saying that a slowing domestic economy is the public's biggest concern, the ruling party leadership urged its lawmakers to focus on creating jobs and reviving the sluggish real estate market. In response to the Democratic Party's installation of a 24-hour headquarters within the parliament, the ruling Saenuri Party plans to set up a situation room to keep an eye on the opposition party. Meanwhile, the rival parties will begin negotiating a date for the standing committees to resume work and will get ready for the upcoming audit of government offices. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
A recent satellite imagery shows North Korea may have conducted a long-range rocket engine test between August 25th and 30th. 38 North, a website devoted to analysis of North Korea, said Monday that the rocket engine test seems to have been conducted at the Dongchangri launch site off the North's west coast. The analysis was based on a comparison of 2 satellite images which appear to show a probable rocket stage, a crane to mount and remove the rocket engine, and monitoring instruments. Dongchangri was where North Korea launched its Una-3 long-range rocket last December. In a separate development, Ben Rhodes, the U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor, told reporters Monday that North Korea is ahead of Iran with its nuclear development, thought to already possess nuclear weapons. Now, relations between Seoul and Tokyo have been frosty at best for many months, but the two sides could take a step towards thawing relations as the foreign ministers of Korea and Japan are expected to sit down for talks in New York at the end of this week. Japan's Kyodo News Agency reported Monday that Korean Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se and his Japanese counterpart Fumio Kishida are making arrangements to meet this Friday on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. The agency added Japan will likely attempt to form a cordial atmosphere to realize the first Korea-Japan summit talks between President Park Geun-hye and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe amid soured bilateral relations over a string of historical issues. Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is scheduled to speak at the UN General Assembly this week, where he will reportedly pledge some $1 million to help female victims of Japan's wartime sexual assault. Our Polly has the details.
The UN General Assembly opened this week with heads of state and other high government officials set to present their views on the world's most pressing issues. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is scheduled to make his address in New York on September 26. Prime Minister Abe will also seek meetings with world leaders on the sidelines of the UN's open session. Japanese newspapers say Abe's upcoming speech at the UN will likely focus on human rights issues. Tokyo has been increasingly under fire in recent months and years for failing to sincerely acknowledge the atrocities carried out by Japanese forces during World War II. Abe will reportedly announce that Japan will earmark approximately $1 million in its annual budget to assist women who suffer from sexual violence. The money is expected to be managed by the International Criminal Court and will mainly support those affected by war in Africa. It's a stark contrast to the cold response given to the Korean government. Seoul has repeatedly called on Tokyo to resolve claims by Korean women who were forced into sexual slavery during World War II through a sincere apology and reparations. Abe's cabinet has denied that the Japanese military coerced women to serve in military brothels. Meanwhile, South Korean Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se will make his keynote speech the following day on the 27th. Government sources say there is a high possibility that Yoon will bring up the so-called comfort women issue during his address. In addition, Yoon is expected to meet with Japanese Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida to discuss ways to thaw icy relations between the two countries. Paul Yi, Arirang News.
With President Park Geun-hye's budget plan for next year slated to be announced this week, many expect the president to announce a scale back of key campaign pledges, particularly those involving basic pension benefits. Our presidential correspondent Oh Jin-ju has the details.
President Park at this point has little to no choice but to scale down her welfare policy goals, with her administration facing difficulties securing the funds needed to fulfill her campaign pledges. The government is expected to face strong backlash from not only the opposition party, but also from the public over its budget proposal for next year, which is scheduled to be submitted at a cabinet meeting presided over by the president on Thursday. The proposal is expected to include plans to reduce welfare spending, especially for basic pension payouts. President Park had originally promised to give 200,000 won, or $186 per month, to all Koreans aged 65 and older. However, it now appears that the government will only provide a maximum of $186 to just 70 to 80% of the people in that age bracket in accordance with their financial status. Then why the change? If the government hands out $186 to all of the people in the age group, it would cost the government $5.6 billion in the first year the plan takes effect. By 2020, the figure would jump nearly 5 times and even 27 times more by the year 2040. Taking responsibility for not being able to fulfill the pledge, Health Minister Chin Young is expected to announce his resignation after he returns from his trip to Saudi Arabia this week. The presidential office of Cheong-won said Monday that President Park will comment on the controversial welfare pledges at Thursday's cabinet meeting. Pundits predict the president will use the opportunity to seek support and understanding from the public, explaining how it is almost impossible to secure the money that is needed to keep her welfare promises. Oh Jin-ju, Arirang News.
The Seoul High Court has ordered indictment of 2 figures related to the National Intelligence Service's alleged meddling in last year's presidential election. They are former NIS agent Lee Jong-myung, who was in charge of information gathering and strategy on North Korea, and sitting agent Min Byung-ju, who headed the psychological warfare team. The court's decision came upon the request of the main opposition Democratic Party, which claims the two have violated the nation's election law. The two will likely face a trial along with former NIS chief Won Se-hun, who was indicted in June for his involvement in the election scandal.
If you want the latest news from Korea and around the world.
Return to the negotiation.
President Park Geun-hye plans, given the current circumstances.
On your way to work or at home.
Defense Ministry. The legislature will convene a...
Tune into Daybreak on Arirang TV.
Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Tuesday. Kenyan security forces say 3 Islamic militants are dead after officers stormed Nairobi's besieged Westgate Mall in an attempt to rescue hostages. Between 10 to 15 gunmen were also arrested Monday, and officials say the situation is now under control and hostages have all been rescued. Kenya's Interior Minister thanked the country's military forces for leading the rescue operation to try and end the terror attack. Somalia's Al-Qaeda-linked militant group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility, saying the attack was revenge for Kenyan military operations in Somalia. At least 62 people were killed and 170 injured in the attack. Time now to check in with Reuters for more stories making headlines around the world.
It's back underground for the Muslim Brotherhood. An Egyptian court has banned the party from engaging in any activities and has also seized the group's funds. The decision comes after 2 months of unrest following the overthrow of then-President Mohamed Morsi. So far, some Egyptians are welcoming the court's decision.
It is a correct decision, 100%. The group that sheds the blood of their fellow Egyptians or sheds the blood of anyone must be an illegitimate group and a terrorist group. They killed youths who were in their prime years in Sinai and took Egyptians' money. My opinion is that this is 100% a correct decision.
Others, however, are criticizing the court's decision in fear that some Brotherhood members will lose faith in peaceful resistance and take up arms against the government. The Brotherhood won parliamentary and presidential elections after veteran autocrat Hosni Mubarak was overthrown in 2011. Previously, the Brotherhood had been outlawed in the country for much of the group's history.
Dozens of security personnel guard the area surrounding an historic church in Peshawar, Pakistan, the site of a deadly suicide attack a day earlier. At least 78 people were killed when 2 suicide bombers attacked an Anglican church after Sunday Mass. Hundreds more are being treated for their wounds. Residents, both Christian and Muslim, condemn the attack. Whether Muslim or Christian, this is barbarity, one man said. We've been trying to help as much as possible. Indeed, some Muslim residents assisted in a midnight mass burial, helping dig the graves of some of the victims as distraught family members looked on. A Taliban-linked militant group has claimed responsibility for the attack. Speaking from London, Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif said the incident will severely hinder attempts to move forward with peace negotiations with members of the Taliban. Christians make up about 4% of Pakistan's 180 million people, and although attacks on Christian areas do occur from time to time, Sunday's assault was the most violent in recent history. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad says weapons inspectors trying to access the country's chemical weapons could face security threats. During an interview with Chinese state-run television, Assad said terrorists might try to attack the inspectors to frame the Syrian government for failing to comply with the U.S.-Russian accord.
Initially, no, we don't see any problems, but as I said, if these terrorists are ordered by some countries to take action against the inspectors to prevent them from doing their job with the goal of blaming the government of Syria, and as you know, these terrorists move all around, they are not just in one place, so this remains a possibility. But so far it's just a possibility. We can't assess the situation until the inspectors arrive.
World leaders still divided on how to ensure compliance of the accord will discuss the ongoing crisis during the United Nations General Assembly meetings later this week.
And back here in the nation, Korea doesn't have as much economic freedom as some of its Asian neighbors, according to an index published by a libertarian think tank here in Seoul. Korea ranked 33rd among 152 nations on the Center for Free Enterprises Index of Economic Freedom for the year 2011. The index, published Monday, gave Korea a score of 7.5 out of 10. And that's a slight increase from the previous year, but it pushed the country's ranking down from 30th to 33rd place. Singapore was ranked number 2 and Taiwan came in at 15th, while Japan earned the same score as Korea. Hong Kong still tops the index as the freest economy in the world. Korea showed improvement in the categories of market regulation and property rights protection, but slipped in terms of the size of the government and the soundness of its currency. The demand for hybrid vehicles here in Korea is spiking, and foreign car makers are starting to make inroads into the local market. The Korea Institute for Industrial Economics and Trade said Monday that foreign car makers accounted for 20% of all hybrid cars sold in the country in the first half of this year. Toyota said 24% of the cars it sold in Korea were hybrids, while Lexus said almost half of its sales were of hybrid vehicles. The state-run institute says demand for green cars will likely increase in the near future and added that local car manufacturers should prepare themselves for the change.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the return of the coach. That's right, manager Hong Myung-bo is back in Korea after making a trip to England during the past week and a half. Now, a lot of questions by the media, mostly regarding the two players, Park Ju-young and Ki Sung-young. Now, with the Korean national football team head coach planning to announce the roster for the upcoming October friendlies on the 30th of this month, the future of Park Ju-young and Ki Sung-young seems to be in doubt after his latest trip to England. Now, according to the manager, Park Ju-young is having a rough time over in Arsenal and can't seem to get in any playing time with the English side, while Ki Sung-young might not see any playing time with the national team until the SNS controversy dies down. Meanwhile, the Taeguk Warriors are set to face off against Brazil and Mali next month. And staying in football, but over in the Netherlands, where Park Ji-sung was recently named in Soccer News' Best 11 after scoring a goal and tallying an assist in the 4-0 victory over Ajax over the weekend. Now, PSV is currently undefeated at 4 wins and 3 draws at 7 rounds into the new season. All right, so moving on, we still have about 10 more days of the regular season in the KBO, which means there were some Monday night KBO action last night. So let's start things off with the Samsung Lions taking on the Hanwha Eagles. Of course, going into the second inning of the game, here is Park Sang-gyu of the Hanwha Eagles with an RBI single to left, scoring Song Kwang-min as the Hanwha Eagles take an early 1-0 lead. Now stays that way until the fourth inning with one man on. Chet Tae-in drills this one deep to center field. This one a 2-run shot as the Samsung Lions now take a 2-1 lead. Now, 8th inning of the game, more insurance runs for the Samsung Lions as Chung Young-sik drills an RBI triple to left field, making it 3-1 Samsung. Before Kang Bong-gyu finishes things off with a sac fly to center field, the Samsung Lions avoid the upset here as they take this game 4-1. And next up, the Lotte Giants taking on the Tucson Bears. First inning, Kim Hyun-soo with an RBI single to left give the Tucson Bears the 1-0 lead before Hug Young-min with the bases loaded here singles to center, making it 2-0 Tucson before Hong Sung-eun is tagged down at second after being too aggressive on the base pads. Meanwhile, Tucson cruising through until the fourth inning here when Chun Ju-nu singles to left center field, scoring Sonas up as the score is now 2-1. Next play, here is Hwang Jae-gyun, drills this one to left center field, splits the gap, and this one, a 2-run triple as Lotte now takes the lead 3-2. We're not done yet. Here's Shin Bong-gi this time with an RBI single to center field before Chung-un caps the 5-run 4th inning with another RBI single to left as Lotte takes the lead 5-2. Shifting to the 6th inning, former Lotte giant Lee Won-suk sends this one to deep left field. This one is out of here. A solo shot cuts the deficit to 5-3. But in the 7th inning, Lotte comes back with 5 more runs, including this one. Shin Bong-gi with a 2-run double to right as Lotte cruises through in this game, 10-3, your final score. And finishing things off with more from the KBO as the Nexen Heroes signed a 2-year extension with their corporate sponsor on Monday as they'll remain the Nexen Heroes until 2015. With the 2-year deal signed back in 2011 expiring by the end of the season, Nexen Tire has agreed to extend their corporate sponsorship for 2 more years, as the deal is rumored to be around 5 billion won or roughly $4.6 million US. Meanwhile, the Nexen Heroes are enjoying their best season yet as they're expected to be playoff bound for the first time in team history. Well, it's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Good morning, I'm Lee Ji-hyun with your latest weather forecast. Well, it's time to switch our wardrobe from summer to fall in preparation for the chilly days because things will be cooling down from today with the rain that will start soon here in the central provinces. Now, central regions will see 30 to 80 millimeters of rain throughout the day, along with thunder and lightning, and of course gusty winds, while 5 to 30 millimeters of precipitation is in the forecast in the southern provinces. Now, it will start to rain later in the afternoon for southern provinces. But right now, the clouds are covering up the northern parts of the peninsula, getting ready to drop some showers. Spoilerless southern provinces should wake up to clear skies, but sky will give way to rain clouds as the day progresses. Now, tomorrow, we do expect a few lingering showers in some of the southern provinces in the morning hours, but the sky will clear up, signaling a brighter afternoon across the nations. And southern provinces will also notice a much cooler afternoon. Now, today, temperature will dip down to early 20s in the capital and surrounding areas, whereas southern provinces have another balmy afternoon on tap today. So let's take a look at those numbers. Now, the capital will only rise to 23 degrees Celsius, that's 73 degrees in Fahrenheit, while Daegu, Gwangju, and Busan will have another mild day with lots of clouds. Now let's see how other regions are looking. It looks like Jeju, Daejeon, and Dokdo will get up into mid to high 20s, and Mount Kumgang will stay cool with light showers. Now that's all for Korea, and here's the global forecast for viewers around the world. Don't forget to keep the umbrella and jacket handy before heading out. That's all for me at this hour. Enjoy your morning commute and have a wonderful day.
And that does it for this Tuesday edition of Daybreak. Thank you for watching.